Let me know in the chat room if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me, people. Should Ohara Davies join the Eubank's? That is the question that I'm asking in this live stream. It's not going to be the longest live stream. I'm only really going to try to cover this topic and get into the pros and cons. Okay, Blackout says it's fine. You can hear me loud and clear. I had a few technical issues live streaming in terms of the audio from my PC, so I'm back on the PlayStation where, yeah, the sound quality may not be as good in terms of the mic, but it's a lot more straightforward. So yeah, should Ohara Davies join the Eubank's? What do you guys think? Now, me personally, I understand that Chris Eubank Sr. has said that fighters should seek him out to be, I don't know what, a promoter, a manager, a guide through the minefield that is professional boxing. This is what Eubank Sr. has said. I don't know how Eubank Sr. is going to be in terms of promoting other fighters other than his son, or managing other fighters, or training other, whatever the case may be, whatever capacity he's working in. I don't know how he's going to be. Is he going to be very hands-on? Is he going to be controlling? Is he going to be condescending? Is he going to be the perfect mentor? I don't know. And I guess it all comes down to how well certain people's personalities gel. How well the fighters' personalities gel with Eubank. And I have to think about this in regards to Ohara Davies. Now, Ohara Davies has some similarities to Chris Eubank Jr. in the sense that he seems to be very headstrong. He seems to be naturally confident. He seems to be, potentially here, he might be a bit difficult to train. He did fall out with Tunde Ajayi, his original trainer, or one of his earlier trainers anyway. I'm not sure if it was the guy he turned professional with, it might be. But he fell out with Tunde Ajayi. That's my understanding. Now he seems to have fallen out with Tony Sims. I struggle to believe, now I could be wrong here, I'm not an insider in the Davis camp or in the Sims camp, but I struggle to believe that this Twitter incident is the first bit of friction between Ohara Davies and Tony Sims. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems a bit extreme for Tony Sims to... Sorry, let me just pause that. It seems a bit extreme for Tony Sims to drop Ohara Davies based on this one incident, where the link between Hillsborough and what Ohara Davies said seemed quite tenuous to me. But then again, Tony Sims is an insider, so maybe he's heard Ohara say things behind closed doors. I don't know. My point being, yeah, I'd be surprised if this is the first time that Ohara and Sims haven't seen eye to eye or have maybe clashed. I think potentially there's been issues with them before. So yeah, maybe that's a similarity that Ohara has with Eubank Jr., because we know Eubank Jr., Adam Booth came in to try train him. It didn't go well. He found Eubank Jr. obviously a difficult student to teach. So that's a similarity there. Eubank Sr., I mean, he's Eubank Jr.'s dad. He says he knows how to deal with him. He says that he will buck. He's a stallion and he will buck, and he knows when to let him buck. Would he be the same way with Ohara Davies? Would he give him the space to do his thing, or would he want to intercede and interject and be a bit more hands-on with Ohara Davies? And would Ohara Davies take that? Now, I understand why people are saying Davies should join the Eubanks. One, because he's an outspoken fighter and he's controversial, just like the Eubanks are. So they think, well, that's a natural fit. One controversial guy joining a team of other controversial guys. And also, the Eubanks have kind of set themselves up, intentionally or unintentionally, as kind of pantomime villains within the world of British boxing. And people believe that Ohara Davies fits in to that pantomime villain setup they got there in the Eubank camp. Now, the pros of joining the Eubanks would be, and also another thing, is Ohara Davies a little bit rough around the edges in terms of the things that he says for the Eubanks? Because, you know, Eubank Senior, he doesn't like swearing, he doesn't like vulgarity and all this kind of thing, at least not publicly. He doesn't like fighters who behave like that. Is Ohara Davies a bit too vulgar for the Eubanks? Would he get reined in by Chris Eubank Sr. if he was with him and he was being vulgar and what have you? These are questions that I've got in my mind in terms of whether Davies should join the Eubanks. But yeah, the positives, the Eubanks have successfully been able to break away from the major promoters in the UK and do their own thing. I massively applaud the Eubanks for that. There are some people who are naysayers and they say it's a bad thing the Eubanks have gone independent. It's a bad thing they've got this deal with ITV. I can't understand that mindset. Barry Hearn, and I've been meaning to talk about Barry Hearn for a while, all right? Barry Hearn did an interview on IFL several years ago where he was talking about the difference between promoting boxing today and how it was back in the day when he was in his heyday as a promoter, Barry Hearn, in the 80s and 90s. And he said back in the days, boxing was more exploitative than it is today. And he very honestly said the relationship between promoters and boxers back in the day when he was in his heyday was like a master and slave relationship. He says today it's different. I agree with Barry Hearn that today is different, but how much different is it? And when it comes to Barry Hearn himself, has he really gotten rid, if he ever had it in the first place, of this master mentality? Because I've heard Eddie Hearn talk on several occasions about Barry Hearn roasting matchroom fighters in the matchroom office after the fighter had a bad performance, going in there and shouting at them. I mean, I don't know about you, but I find that really off. I find that I can't even think of the word, but I'm uneasy with Barry Hearn roasting fighters for having a bad performance. He's not the guy getting in there and taking the punches. I mean, as long as the fighter don't take a couple shots to the chin and then, quit or whatever in a very cowardly fashion, without taking any real punishment, or as long as he don't get in there and don't try at all, because that's the situation where you might be looking to withhold his purse if you're a commission or whatever. But in most circumstances, like for example, Sam Egerton apparently had a bad performance. I think it was the Bradley Skeet performance, and Barry Hearn roasted him, shouting at him and, what have you. That don't sit well with me. Barry Hearn's not the one getting in the ring taking the punches. Barry Hearn's not the one getting up every day doing the runs, sparring every day, getting punched in the face. No. The fighter is the one who puts in the hard work, not the promoters. To me, that attitude from Barry Hearn is like a master-slave attitude, whipping the slaves into line. I don't like that. The way it's supposed to be today, and the way Barry Hearn claimed it was, is that the fighters employ the promoter to promote them. So when is it okay for your employee to be shouting at you? You understand what I'm saying? So what Barry Hearn and Eddie Hearn are saying in terms of they are employed by the fighter and the fighter is the boss, that just sounds like PR to me. It don't sound like it's really happening in practice, because you wouldn't be roasting somebody who employs you. I don't like that attitude from Barry Hearn Eddie Hearn has said it many times in interviews that Barry Hearn's been roasting fighters in the matchroom office. I don't like it. He tried to roast Dylan White. Apparently, he's tried to roast Ohara Davies and all these other fighters. I don't like it. Now, certain fighters have got an independent mentality, like Dylan White. Dylan White is not about that BS. Dylan White is not there to be exploited. He ain't trying to play no slave for anybody. And I think that's why Dylan White is working with the Hearns only on a fight-by-fight basis. He's not trying to be part of the slave group that's under the Hearn Matchroom banner. You know, and that's no disrespect to anybody who's signed to Matchroom, but I don't know, man. If the fighters are supposed to be employing the promoter, it should look that way. You know? And anyway, getting back to my point, the Eubank'S don't like the setup with the Hearns. The Eubank'S called Hearn out and I know some of the demands that Eubank apparently made seem ridiculous. Fair enough, when it came to making that Triple G fight. But Hearn likes to say that fighters have ownership of the show when they put on a show. Whether it's Kell Brook or Anthony Joshua, even with the Eubanks. Said they have ownership. When Eubank tried to exercise that ownership, he was told, no, you don't really have ownership. I think Barry Hearn even said, okay, I'll give you that. You don't really have full ownership. So it's just a marketing ploy to try and lure fighters in. It seems like they don't really have ownership of the shows. So the Eubanks weren't happy with that. They went off and did their own thing. And so if Ohara is also someone who don't like the kind of attitude that the Hearns have, and most of the major promoters, to be honest with you, it's not just the Hearns, this is endemic within boxing. So if Ohara don't like that, maybe the Eubanks would be a good fit for him, because their attitude is we're not trying to be exploited by promoters. We're trying to pave our own path and break away from the mainstream and the old guard. Now, hopefully, the Eubanks wouldn't do to Ohara what promoters have tried to do to them, or what promoters did do, according to Chris Eubank Sr., to him during his career as a professional fighter. I've always, from what I've seen in boxing, I've always trusted ex-professional fighters to treat, ex-professional fighters who've turned promoters, I've always trusted them to treat fighters better than promoters who have never laced up a pair of boxing gloves in their life. When Oscar De La Hoya came along and set up Golden Boy, you can say what you want to say about Oscar De La Hoya, but when he came along and set up Golden Boy, I'm telling you now that he started treating fighters way better than the old guard had been treating them. He was treating fighters way better than Bob Arum, way better than Don King, and all these old school promoters in the United States. I remember in the early days of Golden Boy where they were talking about the fact that they give fighters pay slips. Whereas before it had been standard practice in boxing that a fighter wouldn't get a pay slip. He'd just get money in his account and he wouldn't get a proper breakdown of what percentage of the money from the show he's getting, etc., etc. He'd just get money in his account and he wouldn't be told what percentage he's on in terms of the whole amount of money that's coming for the show from television and the gate and all that kind of stuff. So Golden Boy were one of the first major promoters, if not the first major promoter in the United States, to introduce all that, giving fighters pay slips and being upfront and honest with them. And that's because they had an ex-fighter who'd been through the dramas, who'd been, potentially exploited. He understood how the promoters behaved, and he also understood the sacrifices and the difficulty that fighters have to go through to make it. So he's got more sympathy with fighters and therefore treats fighters better because he's been in their position. Hopefully the Eubanks will be like that too. Hopefully Eubanks Senior will be like that with any fighters that he decides to start working with. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Ohara Davies joining the Eubanks. I think potentially it's a good move, but I don't know. Eubanks Senior seems to be a very Marmite character. Some people like him, some people don't like him. He's a very unique individual. I think we can all agree on that. So how would Ohara get along with him? That's the question. In terms of the, pantomime villain aspect of it, yeah, Ohara seems to fit in with the Eubanks in that sense. But in terms of the day-to-day, how he would get along with the Eubanks, I don't know. That's the only question I have. And you have to imagine that the Eubanks must be somewhat interested in potentially working with Ohara Davies. They must be. Because it would be a way of sticking it to Eddie Hearn, Matchroom and what have you. So yeah, maybe you would imagine they're probably interested in working with Ohara. So anyway, that's the end of my monologue. I'm going to get to your comments right now. I'm just sorting out some settings here in YouTube. 1 second, bear with me. I will get to your comments. Right, you get to these comments here. How do I detach this chat room again? Let me see. So I can scroll back up and see where we at. Pop out chat. Yes. Right, let me get to your comments here, people. Okay. Let me see here. Easy says Eddie and Tony left OD for the Wolves. You know, one thing as well that I tell that I tell any fighter is that the fighter is the, not to be disrespectful, I mean this in a positive way, the fighter is the commodity. The fighter is the item of value within boxing, not the promoter. You can still have a fight without a promoter. You can still have a fight without a trainer. You can still get into the ring and attract people who are going to come and watch without without a promoter and without a trainer. It's not ideal, but you can do it. But without the fighter, there is no show. There's no show without the fighter. So therefore, the fighter is ultimately the most important commodity in this equation. That's what all fighters have to understand. I know a lot of promoters like to bring the fighter under their wing, especially these young guys who haven't been around a long time, haven't been following boxing a long time. They're just in their early 20s or whatever, and they've had their head down and focused on their training. They don't really know about the history of the promoters that they sign with. And they're in awe a lot of the time when it comes to these promoters when they sign with them. So they've got the wrong kind of mentality when they sign with these promoters. They're like, oh, thank you for signing me, and oh, thank you for the opportunity and all this kind of business. No. Forget about that. You are the party of value in this equation, not the promoter. You, the fighter, understand your value and what you're really worth. Don't look at the promoter like he's doing you a favor. He's not getting in the ring and fighting. There is no show without the fighters. But you can still have a show without promoters. You can self-promote. You could, I know we're going to really grassroots level here, but look at gypsies. Gypsies have bare knuckle fights in fields for tens of thousands of pounds. This goes on without any Eddie Hearns or Frank Warrens or anything like that. A lot of time without any trainers. Now, obviously, professional fighters don't want to have to be doing that. But the point being, the fighter is the most important person in the equation. And fighters have to look at themselves in that way as the most important person. Not be overruled by these promoters and act like the guy's doing them a favor. No, he ain't doing you no favor. You're doing him a favor. Value yourself as a fighter. You've got a short time to make the most out of your ability as a fighter. A very short time. That's why I rate people like James DeGale who shop around and just try to look for the best deal. Now, James DeGale's got other issues apart from shopping around for promoters, and people are going to blame. I don't understand why people blame James DeGale's shortcomings on not signing with one promoter. It makes no sense to me. James DeGale's shortcomings are nothing to do with not signing a long-term deal with one promoter. His shortcomings are to do with his arrogance and his love of the nightlife. These are the reasons. Got nothing to do with not signing with a promoter. You know, you look at Floyd Mayweather in the latter years of his career, he wasn't signed to any long-term deal with any promoter. And he was doing very well, thank you very much. You know? And this is what fighters have to aim for and try and do. The Eubank'S, people said, oh, well, now the Eubank'S have got this solo deal. They're never going to take it on any real competition. It's going to be terrible, etc., etc., etc. Oh, really? Well, the Eubank'S have signed to be in the World Boxing Super Series and they're going to fight George Groves. So where are all the naysayers now? Anyway, let me get back to these comments. I'm ranting here. I'm on a tear. The Boxing Roundup says Mayweather is not a very good promoter. Come on, man. I guess he's responding to somebody else. I mean, Mayweather was a good promoter of himself. Whether he's a good promoter of other fighters, I mean, we have to wait and see in the long term. Depends what you class as a good promoter. He isn't allowing Tank Davis to fight Lomachenko. Is that a good promoter or a bad promoter? Because he knows that Lomachenko is going to destroy his boy. So would it be a good promoter that would let his boy get destroyed? Or would it be a good promoter that protects his boy? You understand what I'm saying? All right, let me get to some of these comments here. Okay. Merrick says, I only like Kalle Sauerland, the rest can F off. Well, here's a good point. It's interesting that you bring up Sauerland because Eddie Hearn was saying how difficult it was to deal with the Eubank'S. Frank Warren was saying how difficult it was to deal with the Eubank'S. Kalle Sauerland said that it was very easy dealing with the Eubank'S and that he managed to do a deal for the George Groves Eubank Jr. fight very, very quickly. He said he found them easy to work with. So what's the issue here? Is the issue really the Eubank'S? Or is the issue actually the old school mentality of Frank Warren and the Hearns? And Eddie Hearn is he's not quite as old school as maybe his dad or Frank Warren. Eddie Hearn's more forward thinking, but perhaps some of his dad's ways are creeping into his mentality maybe. Zach Shaw says, has Tony Sims actually dropped him? Well, this is according to what has been said by certain fighters on Twitter. Ohara Davies hasn't refuted this rumor that has been dropped by Tony Sims. He hasn't refuted it. He retweeted my video that I did about his situation, Ohara Davies. He retweeted it, he shared it on social media, and he didn't refute anything that I said in the video. So I don't know if he's been dropped or not, because it was in the video title it said Ohara Davies dropped by Tony Sims. Ohara never said anything about that. So maybe he has. Gorgaruga, sorry, says Eubank Sr. is a legend. Liverpool says thoughts on Terry Flanagan. Terry Flanagan, maybe he needs to change promoters because he seems quite stagnant at the moment. He seems quite stagnant. IFG says, I actually like the fact that Eubanks hold themselves in high regard. Yes, so do I. I'm not making Eubanks Sr. out to be a saint or saying he's the greatest person in the world or anything like that. No. What I'm saying to you is, in a business sense, I like what he's doing in terms of taking control away from the major promoters and doing their own thing, signing a direct deal with ITV. This is the future as far as I'm concerned. This is where most fighters should try and go. That's where they should at least try and aim. Hopefully we can get to a stage in the future where boxers can cut out the middlemen altogether. Or when they do work with promoters, then it really is in a situation where they employ the promoter. Yeah, big up Kieran Malcolm. Carlton Palmer says yes is the answer. A lot of people liking this idea of Ohara Davies joining the Eubank's. George Rodriguez says Barry Hearn has no official role within the matchroom boxing department. Apparently not, but yet he can still come in and start roasting fighters. What authority does he have to do that? Because he, by Eddie Hearn's own admission, he's coming in and he's roasting all these fighters. That don't sit well with me. Him coming in roasting fighters who have, been waking up every morning running, putting the blood, sweat and tears for years to be professionals. And this guy's coming in there who's never laced up a pair of gloves in his life. All he does is push pens and make phone calls. And he's trying to talk down and humiliate these fighters and give them the hairdryer Alex Ferguson treatment. That don't sit well with me. Have some respect, You're making money off these fighters and you're coming in shouting at them, and have some respect, man. Yemi Warner says Eubank lectures needed. OD will learn a lot from someone that cares. And maybe OD would respect Eubank more than he respects Hearn, because he knows Eubank has been there, seen it and done it. He knows that Eubank has managed to now break away from the mainstream. He's managed to break away from the clutches of all these major promoters, and he's been there in every situation you could imagine in a boxing ring. So maybe Ohara would respect that more. Maybe he'd be more willing to listen to a Eubank because of what Eubank has actually been through. Self-pride indeed. Liam says, Hatman, who has Hearn grilled? Well, according to Eddie Hearn, Barry Hearn has grilled Ohara Davies. He's grilled who did I say earlier? Sam Egerton, Ohara Davies, Dylan White. Those are the ones I can remember Eddie Hearn saying that Barry Hearn grilled. I'm sure there are more than that. And it just don't sit right with me. Him behaving that way towards fighters, it does not sit right with me at all. Big Nasty says, has money been discussed? I am not sure if Ronnie David rate, but I expect Eubank to ask for a lot of money, which may deter OD. Maybe. I mean, that's the thing. Box Mind says, what about Ohara joining Haymaker? Good shout. Big up Box Minds. Ohara Davies joining Haymaker. Now, the issue with Haymaker is that they don't have a lot of shows at the moment. That's the issue. But in terms of mentality, David Haye, I think, might even be the best move for Ohara Davies in terms of mentality. Again, I don't know about how many shows David Haye's going to have, whether he can be relied on to get Ohara Davies as active as he needs to be. That's the issue with Haye. But in terms of mentality, David Haye would be the perfect fit for Ohara Davies, in my view, because David Haye has said so many controversial things, and he's also been there, seen it, and done it. He's not going to be offended by anything Ohara may have insinuated or may not have insinuated, you know, because David Haye has said all kind of crazy things before. So, yeah, shout out to the individual who said Haymaker. Definitely. That's, in terms of mentality, I think that's the best fit. And also, the trainer, Salas, who is working in the Haymaker gym, he'd be good for Ohara Davies, I think. I think he'd be good. Haymaker is linked with Ringstar so Ohara can fight on American cards. Potentially, yes. Big up Kenneth O from Barbados. Big up. That is a very good point. Very good point. Haymaker have the Richard Schaefer connection. Well, Richard Schaefer is he's a partner in Haymaker Ringstar. That's why it's called Haymaker Ringstar. Nassim says he should join Frank Warren. He is used to controversial fighters like Billy Joe. I think Frank Warren's situation is changing at the moment. And I think he's only as tolerant as he feels like he has to be for his business, you know. Frank Warren's got fighters coming through now. I think he's going to start getting a little less or a little more picky in terms of the fighters that he works with, because he's got the likes of Dubois and Yard coming through, and Billy Joe Saunders' stock has risen a lot recently. So Frank Warren is on the ascendancy again with his deal with BT Sport and whatnot. So I think he's going to be maybe a little more picky with the fighters he works with at the moment, and maybe a bit harsher on his fighters again, because he's in a position to be now. That's just my gut feeling. Yeah, exactly what I said, George Milner. Hayes' stable is so small, might not be enough dates for Ohara, but as someone else said, maybe Ohara could fight in the States on Richard Schaefer shows if he's struggling for dates, and I'm sure Ohara would like to do that. I'm sure he'd like to diversify and go fight abroad in the States from time to time to stay busy. Fred Ginger says Ohara is a liability for anyone. Well, maybe, maybe not. Ohara's a young guy, he's learning. And maybe he'll learn from this situation. Maybe from this situation he'll learn to be a bit more careful. Fat Apple says Ohara should go to Mick Hennessy. He is the clown prince of dealing with troubled fighters. No disrespect to Mick Hennessy, but I don't think anybody should go with I don't think anybody should go with Mick Hennessy. The Stone Toker says, can Ohara ever compete at world level? I think so, yeah. I think Ohara Davies is good enough to win a world title at some stage. I think so, yeah. There's 4 world title belts per division. I don't see why Ohara Davies can't pick one up. Hennessy has no money and no TV. Indeed. Indeed. London Taylor says OD is not a liability, it's pure fake outrage. OD made 6 figures in 2017. Making 6 figures in 2017 means that his promoter and manager and trainer got a very large cut of that 6 figures that Ohara made. For a guy on domestic and European level to be making 6 figures, that's very good going indeed. Is that a liability for the promoter making that much money from the guy? You tell me. Tom S says, but OD hasn't shown much other than power, has he? He's got more than power. His awkwardness is a strength. Yeah, I've never rated Tony Sims as a trainer. I'll be honest. I've never rated him as a trainer. Someone said, how do I think Ohara would do in a Josh Taylor rematch? Well, you'd have to pick Josh Taylor again. Ohara has to show to us that he can compete at a Josh Taylor level against someone similar to that and prevail this time. Josh Taylor, I think, is going a long way. So, yeah, right now, you'd have to say Josh Taylor wins a rematch. Maybe Ohara can improve enough to the point where people would maybe pick him in a rematch. I don't know. But, you know, for me, Daniel says Ohara is one of those characters you love or hate. Either way, you want to watch him win or get KO'd. Yeah. And that's why he's actually of value to a promoter. Because he gets people talking, whether they like him or loathe him, they're talking about him, and that means he's going to generate money. I don't know Ohara Davies personally. I don't know whether I like him or dislike him as a human being. I don't know him. I don't know enough about him. But what I can say is I'm interested in him as a fighter. I think he's talented. I think he's entertaining in the ring. So I like watching him fight. Merrick says best bet for OD is to team up with Don Charles. Now, Don Charles has taken exception to some of the things I've said about him in the past, but all I can do is keep it real. There are not many trainers in boxing who I rate. Personally, that's just my personal view. I'm not trying to disrespect nobody. I'm just talking from my personal view. There are not many trainers I rate. Don Charles is not one of the trainers that I do rate. He's not one of the few trainers I actually rate. That's what I can say about Don Charles. You know? Liam says, why did Ohara fall out with Tunde? I'm not sure, but I do know that they fell out. Maybe I can get Ohara on the channel in an interview and I can ask him that question. Why did he fall out with Tunde? If he's willing to answer it. I don't know. Or maybe I can chat to Tunde and find out why he fell out with her. I don't know. Maybe a clash of personalities. I don't know what it is. Again, Ohara seems like a very headstrong, stubborn kind of character. You know? Shout out to Sporting Icons. Yes, all is well indeed. Happy New Year. Merrick says he's kidding. It's all good, bro. Question mark says Chisora lost to Caballero due to Don Charles' absence. I'm not sure about that. Chisora has lost fights with Don Charles in his corner. So he lost the Fury rematch with Don Charles, right? He lost to David Haye with Don Charles. I know they're very, very good fighters, but still. All Let's see who. 1 second here, people. All right, certain people need to join the block party. So enjoy. Snapchat Entertainment says, Hatman, what do you think about Ohara joining the Mayweather gym? I think Ohara is better off in the UK for now. If he became an international star, well, you know, he don't necessarily have to base himself in America, I guess, to join the Mayweather gym. He could just train over there. So, I don't know. I'll come back to you on that. Getting some weird questions. This guy asking me, what is your height and weight? Weird questions for guys to be asking another guy, man. I'm sure you've been on another live stream asking me these kind of questions. Other people saying, Hatman, when are you doing the face reveal? I'm never doing a face reveal. I am a person that values my privacy. In my early days doing YouTube on my old channel, I used to go on camera. And certain situations happened with females, right? Whereby a certain female started coming to my channel saying this, that, and the other about me, and it wasn't a good look. So after that, I was like, you know what? And obviously I was getting recognized where, you know, where I was going. People were saying, oh, you're the guy from YouTube and this, that, and the other. And I prefer to have my anonymity. I prefer to be able to go wherever I want to go without people wanting to stop me and take selfies. And, you know, it's no disrespect to anybody, but I like to be able to live my life like you guys live your lives. Walking around freely without being accosted by people who want to talk boxing every 5 seconds and have selfies and all that kind of business. And also without bitter exes and stuff like that trying to come after you, and they know that you're a personality on YouTube and they can make things difficult for you and try and smear your name and your character and all. So yeah, forget about all that. I'll stick with my anonymity. Question mark says, so Hatman, what if a big nice bag was offered to you to go on TV? I wouldn't go on TV. I was offered, let me tell you something. This is facts now. This is facts. I was offered by somebody involved in promoting the Joseph Parker Hughie Fury fight. I was offered a deal whereby I would get to stay in a 5-star hotel. I'd get like ringside seats. I've still got the email that I was sent from Team Fury or whoever it was that was involved in the promotion of that fight. Yeah, I was offered some package where I'd be ringside and all this kind of stuff in exchange for promoting the fight on my channel and being involved in some videos and photo shoot with the fighters, you know, on camera and all that kind of stuff. And in exchange, they're going to give me ringside seats and stay in a hotel for like me and another person or whatever. Please. I wouldn't go for that kind of deal anyway, because you're not talking money. You're just you're acting like I'm some kind of fanboy who's going to be overawed and, oh my gosh, they're offering me ringside seats. Like I ain't been to watch a boxing match before. I've been to countless boxing matches. You understand? Like, I've known loads of fighters. I'm not impressed by being offered ringside seats at Huey Fury Joseph Parker. You know, if you're going to try to get me to do some promotion for you, then let's talk some proper business here. Don't come to me offering me tickets. Like, come to me offering me something proper. If you want me to promote your fight on my channel and use my audience to promote your fight, you better be talking money. Don't be talking about no tickets. I'm telling you. So I turned that down, but I just blanked it. I didn't even respond. I blanked it. George Milner says, has anyone recognized you from voice alone? Yes, they have. Yes, they have. Value yourself, man. Value yourself as a commodity. You understand what I'm saying? Them people tried to come in and act as though I'd be some starstruck fanboy. You know? It's not that kind of party. Shout out to Latvia Boxing. Big up. Thank you, bro. Kind words. Yes, Sporting Icons Ohara did post a video. And again, since he posted the video, without refuting anything I said in the video, perhaps he really has been dropped by Sims and whatever. London Taylor says, what do you think of the Eubank-Groves fight? I did speak about this in a previous live stream, but just to recap, I think that it'll either be Groves winning on points or Eubank late stoppage. Will you promote my covers band for free sandwiches? See, now that's a deal that I can work with. Whatever man says, are you over or under 250 pounds? Well, I can at least tell you that I'm under 250 pounds. For sure. I've never in my life been over 250 pounds. Fat Apple says, Hatman, are you an ex-boxer? Yes, I have boxed. My streams are random times. Yeah, you know. Free time is random. I don't always have free time at the same time. So, yeah, they are a bit random. Carlton Palmer says, if Eubank can take the power, he'll beat Groves. Yeah, that may be what it comes down to. That may be what it comes down to. Latvia Boxer says, Hatman, Daniel Dubois is dangerous because of his mindset. He is a little weird, a little off, just like Mike Tyson. I don't know where Daniel Dubois is at right now in terms of his mindset. He's an enigma to me. So for me, the jury is out with Daniel Dubois in terms of what his mindset is like, because he really don't give much away. ABC123 says, what car do you drive? These questions are so bizarre. Dubois seems to really enjoy his knockouts. Yeah, he does, which is definitely a good sign. Snapchat Entertainment says, I heard that your record is 0-50. Believe you me, I wouldn't have 50 fights if I'd had 30 fights and never won one, never won a single fight after 30, I wouldn't continue. I would not continue. Oh. Sporting Icon says, when I interviewed Dave Allen last night, he said he wants Dubois next after he beats Thomas. Is Dubois, if Dubois becomes British champ? Shout out to Dave Allen. "54 Charles Swan says, Hatman, I'm your ex." You definitely ain't. If you were, you'd be talking a lot more BS than you are right now. You know what I mean? If you really was my ex, you'd be saying all kind of crazy stuff. You'd be on the block party before you can blink. That's actually true. Hatman has never been dropped as an amateur. That is actually true. Not to say I fought at a particularly high level, so I'm not coming out acting like I'm Oliver McCall here with an iron jaw, but I never actually was dropped when I boxed. I was never even dropped in sparring. Fat Apple says, Hatman, you used to box, right? So when did Wilder offer you the fight? I'm waiting for that phone call, man. I'm waiting for Wilder to call me up and offer me a fight so I can get knocked out in one round and make a couple grand from it. Hatman, were you a heavyweight? Yes. Whatever man says, what's the hardest you were ever punched? I don't know, man. Yeah, Povetkin is mandatory for the WBA now, Kenneth O. He is indeed mandatory for Joshua. Yeah. Now, when the WBA are actually going to enforce that mandatory and call it, I don't know. But, yeah, he is mandatory. Somebody said that, how difficult is it for non-boxers to understand the game? I would say it's quite difficult for most non-boxers to understand the game, but there are some people who have never boxed that have a surprisingly good understanding of the game. And I know the guy I'm about to mention is a very divisive character, but I've always found him to be very, very knowledgeable and have a very good understanding of what it's like for fighters in the ring. And that is Larry Merchant. I know a lot of people say he's a scumbag and this, that, and the other about him, and that's all, you know, well and true, but he has a very good understanding of boxing, Larry Merchant. I've been watching that guy over the years from the 80s and whatever, and he makes a lot of very astute observations about how fighters feel in the ring and, you know, how certain things can affect them in fights. Yeah. And it's a guy who's never laced up a pair of gloves in his life, but he seems to understand the psychology of fighters and the things that can affect them mentally in the ring quite well. I'm not saying he's right every time, but for someone who's never boxed, he's got a very good understanding from what I can see. Fat Apple says, Wilder prefers shoemakers and nuclear scientists. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Supreme says, what's good, bro? You still on Vassal Brick City? No. I don't live in Brixton, and I never lived on Vassal Road. Loughborough is where I used to live. Box Rank Britain said, what's with the Charlie Brown beef? He threatened to shoot low place boxing. I got no idea. I don't follow YouTube beefs. So I got no idea. I got no knowledge of that. I do not follow these YouTube boxing community beefs. With this channel's beefing with that one, I got no interest in it. No interest in it at all. I'm interested in beefs between actual professional fighters. Those are the beefs I'm interested in. I'm not interested in no middle-aged men having beef over the internet. It don't interest me. DWR 1982 says, boxing beats and rhymes commentary on Price versus Hammer cracks me up. That was honestly one of the funniest pieces of commentary I've ever seen. And I actually managed to put the boxing beats and rhymes commentary together with the video of the fight, and I posted it in my boxing group. And I'm telling you, that shit is that shit is hilarious. David Price, Christian Hammer with the boxing beats and rhymes commentary. Funniest thing I've seen in a long time. Liam says, Hatman, I'm getting into amateur boxing and I'll start sparring soon. Any tips or advice? Well, the most generic advice I can give you, because obviously I don't know what you're like as a fighter, I've never seen you spar or anything like that, but you're going to get into amateur boxing. The best advice I can give you is work on not getting hit first. And I know that can be a frustrating thing, because the first time you get in the ring, you want to punch the other guy in the face and you don't want to feel like you're getting bullied or anything like that. But what I would tell any fighter is learn how to defend yourself first. Don't go in the ring concentrating, thinking about, I need to punch this guy in the face. Go into the ring and concentrate on hitting the guy with a jab and minimizing the amount that you get hit. That's what I would say is the best thing to do. Learn how to actually be able to protect yourself in the ring first, and then you can build an offense off that, you know? Because in a lot of cases when you first start amateur boxing, guys are coming out swinging wild punches, they're getting hit loads, they're getting a bloody nose every time they spar or fight. You can avoid all that and jump the queue in terms of development if you work on defense first. Learn how to protect yourself, minimize the amount you get hit, and then build your offense off that. Majid says, what football team do you support? You strike me as someone, I don't support any football team. I don't follow football. You know, football to me is funny. It's like a soap opera, football. It's like EastEnders, with the dramas, with the managers and transfers and this and that controversy with the players. It's like it's like EastEnders or something. The only real football situation that I've, in fact, it's not even a situation, but there's a channel that some of you may know about. Is it called Arsenal Fans TV? And they've got like one boy on there, one black guy called Ty, and another guy, old white guy called Claude, and they always go back and forth. The whole Claude and Ty thing on the Arsenal Fans TV, that's funny. That's funny. Both of them crack me up. In fact, there was a guy called Ty who was commenting on my videos a while ago. It probably weren't the real Ty. I hope it was. If it was the real Ty from Arsenal Fans TV, then I want to get him on the channel and interview him. if that tie is actually a boxing fan as well as an Arsenal fan and a football fan, I need him on the channel. I need to chat to that guy. Yeah, big up Liam. Just work on that defense and making sure you don't get hit. Yeah. Connor Boyd says, do you see Jeff Horn vacating the WBO belt? I'd be surprised if he does. He's going to make a decent amount of money for fighting Crawford, I would imagine. So Latvia Boxing says, Hatman, who is the best heavyweight of all time? Lewis or Ali? Well, it depends how you want to rate who's the greatest. If you're talking about achievements in terms of how many quality fighters they beat, etc., then I would say Ali is the greatest if you're talking about achievements. But some people don't measure greatness just in terms of achievements. Got a frog in my throat. Yeah, some people don't measure greatness just in terms of achievement. They're also looking at who they think would beat who. Like, would Ali beat Klitschko? Or would Ali beat Tyson? Or would Ali beat whoever, Lennox Lewis? We can't answer that question necessarily. We don't know for 100% sure who Ali would and wouldn't beat. But what we do know is within Ali's time, in terms of the elite fighters that he beat, I would say that qualifies him to be the greatest in terms of achievement. You know, he beat Sonny Liston, who was a beast and a feared champion at the time. He beat George Foreman, who was a beast and a feared champion and an all-time great. He beat Joe Frazier eventually. He beat Ken Norton. He went on a long run of beating a lot of contenders, you know, a lot of massive punchers like Ernie Shavers and what have you. So Ali achieved a lot, and he was three-time heavyweight champion, obviously. So I would say in terms of achievement, Ali. In terms of who would beat who, I don't think there's any one heavyweight who could have beaten everybody. Put it that way. It's a rock, paper, scissors situation, I think. Thomas Breder says, do you think Joe Calzaghe is better than all the current super middleweights, and would he have beaten Froch? Yes and yes is what I say. I think he's better than all the current super middleweights, and I think he would have beaten Froch. Just my view. Sporting Icon says, Hatman, you told me you've done a great video on demons, Illuminati, cults, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, the only place I do videos like that now is on my Patreon, because I did do them on YouTube, but, you know, you get in trouble with YouTube now for doing videos like that. You get demonetized all over the place, and, man, they crack down on you hard. You'll see the views on your channel drop like a rock when you have videos like that on your channel now. So I deleted all those kind of videos from my channel, and I only do that kind of content on Patreon now, cause it's just not safe. It's not safe to be making them kind of videos on YouTube now if you care about the amount of views you get on your channel, you know. Majid says, you've expressed your support for Khan in the past. Do you feel there's any way back for him, especially now that Brooks seems to have chosen a different path? Khan came out the other day and said that he is planning to clean out the 147-pound division. I love Khan's ambition. I love his confidence. Do I believe that he can do what he says he's going to do? Clean out the 147-pound division? I don't believe it. If he proves me wrong, it's all good. But I don't think he can do it. I think Khan has been great for boxing. I think he's provided me and a lot of other people with a hell of a lot of entertainment. So I'm glad that Amir Khan has, you know, been in boxing. But yeah, I don't see him cleaning out the 147-pound division. Needless to say, yeah. Anyway, peeps, I'm gonna cut this live stream short here. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I'll catch you on the next upload or the next live stream. All right. So thank you all again for tuning in. Always appreciate the viewership and the support and your comments. Like conversing with you guys. So yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out.